You know, 3 years ago, this entire place was pretty much a construction site. And ever since then, I have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours building everything that you see here, pretty much all by myself. And as of the recording of this video, I gotta say that it honestly feels more like a hotel rather than the backyard that we originally moved into. And the last piece of the puzzle that we put onto this wooden deck wasn't actually the pool, it was this. So if you haven't watched my previous videos, or if this is your first time here, then I just want to say hi. Hope everything's good with you. My name is Peter. I'm a little bit of a DIY dude that likes to use cameras and operate cameras and that kind of stuff as well. But last year I spent approximately 4 months in total building the entire wooden deck and the entire pool all by myself. And let me tell you, it was a pain in the butt. But it turned out great. And when everything was finished, it felt amazing to actually be able to enjoy the space that I built with my own bare hands. But there was one downside. So the place where we have our house is great when it comes to the amount of sun that we get on this area. But that's also the downside because we didn't have any shade last year. So we couldn't be out here during the midday because it was so incredibly hot. So instead of being outside whenever it was sunny and whenever it was warm, we had to be inside because it was simply not bearable to sit right next to the house because it basically felt like you were sitting in a pot. Now we did try to solve it with something that we call here in Sweden solsegel, va? Or sun sail, I think you say in English. I don't really know, but we're gonna go with that because it sounds good. It's basically a direct translation of solsegel, so it's sun sail. But we also needed to disassemble it or take it down during the evenings because we are living quite close to the ocean, so there's a real winds that can pick up really fast. But then again, you also have something that we call dag, or I think you say dew in English, and they have rain, or the possibility of it. And also, the entire lounge has cushions, which meant that when we wanted to sit outside, we needed to take out the cushions, and then as soon as we wanted to go inside and call it quits for the evening, we needed to put them back every single evening because of the sun sail not being able to be up, and also the dew coming down and turning the cushions wet. Like if you're living in a house, you do know the drill. As soon as the sun disappears during the summer, which it does summer around here, it gets quite chilly outside during the Swedish summer because you have the dew coming in and then everything starts to get wet and then you start to freeze and you know, there's no place to be because if you're sitting outside, you're just gonna freeze. So we needed to have a permanent solution. And when we were sitting here back in 2024, before any of this even existed, me and Amanda was sitting here and thinking like, man, it would be so cool to have something like a pergola right here. And here it is. I think what surprised me the most when it arrived was that I kind of have forgotten how long 6 meters actually is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is ginormous. But when it comes to actual unboxing, I gotta say that it was easy. It was also very well packed, so you don't have to worry about having scratches on your new aluminum pergola. But I will say that my biggest tip when you're assembling one of these on your own is to make sure that you're taking the right box depending on what the manual says, so that you don't start to assemble the wrong beams or the wrong legs or the wrong screws or something like that. Just make sure that you use the right box whenever the right box says. I mean, like, it's kind of like IKEA, you know, I'm Swedish, so whenever you assemble something like this on your own, it's bound to happen something, right? And this time around though, it did not. So we got the framing done, and my God, this feels so freaking solid. It is bolted into the beams that is under the wooden deck, so the entire thing feels incredibly sturdy. I'm 110 kilos. Didn't even budge. The color that we have on the pool roof is anthracite all the way. The color that we have over here on our parasol is anthracite, and the pergola is anthracite. So everything matches perfectly together, which I think is freaking amazing. It's always so hard to know if the color is going to be of satisfaction, but the fun thing is that I chose anthracite because I thought it would be this exact color, and it came out to be this exact color. When it comes to the actual assembly of the Pergola, it's very simple because you can just download the Pergolux app, and then it's going to look like this. So basically you choose the Pergola that you've ordered, and then you just choose start assembly, and now it's taking me to the step where I'm at, which I think is pretty cool because then I can just swipe through the manual. Simple as hell. I'm gonna be honest and say that I'm a pretty handy man, but even someone that doesn't have my experience with building would easily be able to assemble this just by using the app and reading the manual. I promise. Now, when I assembled my pergola, I needed to make a couple of adjustments. The first thing that I needed to do was to cut the legs 28 centimeters in order to make the entire pergola fit in beneath the ceiling, or the ceiling. I think you say the roof in English when it's on the outside, and then you say ceiling on the inside. Am I right? I think so. But we basically have something that we call takutsprong, and I needed to fit it just under that. So I had to cut them off 28 centimeters, but if you have an angle grinder, it is very simple to do. And since the entire construction of this pergola is made entirely out of aluminium, it was very easy to just cut the legs off and make sure that you had a perfectly level pergola after the fact that you had cut it. I assembled this together with a couple of friends, and it took us a total of 8 hours. But I gotta say that the result is so much better than I thought it would be. Let me take you around for a little bit so you can see everything. It's starting to be mosquitoes everywhere. I don't like that. Check this out. In the actual ceiling, and the cool part is that you can have them lit while the entire roof opens. So at the recording of this video, I've actually used the pergola for a little bit more than 1 month, and there's been so many evenings spent here already, together with family, together with friends, and it's just an overall awesome hangout place that we didn't have before. I think what surprised me the most is not the look of this thing, even though it looks incredibly good with matte paint and the anthracite finish and the aluminum profiles, but it's actually more about how much we've started to use this space. Because last year we basically didn't. There was just too much hassle whenever you want to sit outside during the evening, or you wanted to have a family dinner and you didn't know if it was going to rain. Now we don't have to worry about anything of that. And this remote right here is what controls the entire thing. But you don't need to use the actual remote. You can use a smart home system if you want to do that, or you can use the Pergolux app as well. But I like physical buttons, I'm not gonna lie. Check this out. You can turn on the infra heaters, not one, but two. And since we have solar panels and a battery, that also means that these are not costing us anything, because the battery is charged with solar during the day, and then we use the heat when we're sitting out here during the evening. Since they're 2 kilowatts, they are like, it gets really warm when you're sitting here, especially when you have both of them on, because then you have heat coming from this side, but also heat coming from that side. The dangerous part though is that when you have the heaters on and you're sitting down here, especially in this corner, you kind of don't want to leave. This is the place where you just want to sleep for the night. One thing that I did underestimate is how good these SIP screens are, because I didn't think that they would do this much of a difference. But when you're sitting here and it's windy, you can basically feel no wind. So you can sit here, you can turn the heaters on, and then you can enjoy being outside without actually being outside. They're also super easy to drag down and take up because they're spring loaded. So you just drag them down, and they have different stops that you can click them into, and then when you want to take them up, you just click, clamp, drag up, and then you're done. Today is actually a very windy day, and I thought I'd answer a question for you that I had before I was assembling the pergola, and that is, how good is it in strong winds, and how wind resistant is it actually? We've been having 2 days of really intense winds here. It's been up to 20-25 meters per second. I don't know what the conversion is, but I'm going to put it right here. And this thing hasn't budged at all. And since the area that we're living in have a lot of open space, and the ocean is right here behind those trees, there's a lot of wind coming in here. So to be able to utilize this space, and we can just close the SIP walls, and you can enjoy the space because there's no wind coming in here. The actual SIP screen material is so dense, so there's no wind coming through, but you can still see outside, which I think is awesome because then I can sit here and enjoy the view, but at the same time not have any wind on me. And the second thing I was wondering is if the roof is actually keeping the water out or if it leaks through. And I'm happy to say that it can definitely withstand heavy rain, like heavy rain. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can see that we are kind of protected by the SIP screen, and it is really pouring down outside. The entire drainage happens down into the actual beams, or I don't know, legs of the pergola. So whenever it's raining, it's basically running down into the legs, so you don't see the water actually draining away, which I think is ingenious, and it also makes the entire thing so much more usable because then you can use the entire thing when it's raining. And the roof itself has a very smart design where they kind of interlock into each other to keep the actual rain out from getting into the pergola. So someone in the Norwegian design team has been really thinking things through when they designed this. The pergola that I have here is a 4 by 6 meter big pergola, and considering the size of our wooden deck, I don't think a smaller pergola would have looked as good as this does. And also the amount of space that you can utilize with a pergola this size is amazing. It's basically an extra 2 rooms that we can utilize during the summer and spring and fall. So if you'd shown me the drone shots of how this place looked 3 years ago and then shown me this, I honestly wouldn't believe you at all. Not the slightest. This is such a dream come true, but it's also an insane amount of hours that I've actually spent building this space into what I envisioned it to be. So if you're interested in getting one of these or reading more about one of these, I'm gonna drop a link in the description down below, and you can use the code LindgrenLux to get a little bit of a discount if you decide to go for it. But I will say the build quality of this thing is mental. Being able to connect it to my smart home, being able to start the heaters from my phone, being able to have the SIP screens, it's an all-in-one package that I'm super proud to be able to have here. So I really hope that you liked this video, and if you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, hype, everything that you do on YouTube nowadays. And don't forget to check out the Pergolux website. Link is in the description. Peter from Sweden will say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All the best.